Seahawks and Bears, who stood out? Somebody that we've talked about already this week. And what's going on with Tom Brady? Where is this organization looking for the future? How can we get into that? And then we'll run you down some guys that you got to watch this weekend because that's what we're looking for. From the rookie class in the NFL preseason week number 2, welcome to Locked On NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And of course, as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Tracy. He is at Ryan Tracy NFL on Twitter. And of course, I am at Eric_Crocker on Twitter. We want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day and excited to continue to talk about some players from the 2022 draft class and some other things that's going on around the NFL, including Tom Brady, which I think his first name is really like Thomas. But anyways, Tom Brady, the great quarterback. And a while ago, he kind of stepped away. And I don't think anybody really looked too far into whatever it was. It was like, I did think it was a little weird, right? It's like, okay, like a week or so into training camp, all of a sudden you're just like, oh, I'm going to take off. And then your coach comes out and says, well, it was always part of the process. It was always him. You know, we knew he was going to step away. He wanted to let other guys get some reps. And I just always thought that was weird, especially for someone like Tom Brady, who
a competitor.
He's like this maniacal, focused, driven, pays attention to every single detail, wants everyone to be on the same page. And he leaves. He leaves in the middle of training camp. That never made any sense. And now they asked his coach about it and said, well, we really don't know when he's going to return. We'll reach out to him next week and see when he's ready to come back. So we look at this last draft class, and obviously the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they did not address the quarterback position. They did, however, in 2021 draft a quarterback by the name of Kyle Trask, who Kyle Trask played the least amount of snaps of any second-round pick in the 2021 draft class, which I guess you could expect that because, well, he's playing behind Tom Brady. And Blaine Gabbert, because he was like the third-string quarterback and didn't even play. So he was behind Brady and Gabbert. But what do you make of, really, one, this situation, and two, did they kind of miss the ball on potentially trying to go after another quarterback who could potentially be the long-term player?
Well, hindsight's 20/20, right? But maybe they did miss something because they didn't have to put in a first-round investment, right? We see these guys that are playing out of this draft class were taken in the third round. There was plenty of opportunity to get a quarterback if you felt that you needed to. And we're not going to change this segment from Front Office Friday, folks, to Croc's Conspiracy Hour, but it could be there. I don't know. It might come along. But the question is, you had that opportunity, but you didn't do it. And so for me, why is it that you weren't preparing when he had already like hinted at retirement, whatever? And I mean, who knows? Maybe it was all in the plan that you were going to come back and home life was not exactly what you wanted. I have to think that there's something else going on there. I don't know what it is, but I think it could have been an opportunity lost. But certainly they have to do that now because, like you said, Trask couldn't get on the field. I don't know that Blaine Gabbert's going to get you anywhere, even as a floater for a year to find. He can't be a bridge, in my opinion, either. I don't know how you feel, but I think they got to get an answer here quick.
He definitely can't be a bridge, and that's a tough transition when you have Tom Brady. He's your starting quarterback. You go and win the Super Bowl with him. And then the next year, you go to the divisional round playoffs, right? You make it far, and you have those type of expectations. Brady retires, or I guess he never used the word retire, but Brady kind of, I guess, issued this statement that looked like a retirement, and then he eventually came back from it and was like, all right, I'm back. Now, I was just kidding about all that other stuff. And then now he's kind of leaving again. I think he's put this team in a tough position because the expectations are Super Bowl when you have Tom Brady, right? And a lot of people, I'd assume if I looked at BetOnline, if I looked at their lines right now, the odds of the Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl with Tom Brady at quarterback probably really high. And so those are the expectations that people have for this team and probably what Tom Brady had for the team when he's a part of it. But you step away, and I don't think it's as simple as just plugging in Blaine Gabbert, who, yeah, okay, if you're talking about filling in for a half, or if you're talking about filling in for a game, maybe 2 games. And I saw this with the San Francisco 49ers when Blaine Gabbert was kind of a backup to Kaepernick. Then he started for a little bit, but he wasn't not starting quarterback caliber material where he's going to, kind of elevate your team. So you see the situation now, it's like you're almost kind of stuck unless Kyle Trask takes this huge jump that I haven't seen or heard about yet. Nobody has raved about Kyle Trask and his development and how it's going. Sounds like a tough kind of situation that Tom Brady's putting his team in.
Yeah, there's 3 Gator fans somewhere who think he's the future, but that's about it. I think that's the problem is like you've got yourself in this pinch where you're at the mercy of a player that clearly has more on his plate than just an easy A or B, retire or don't retire position. So he's got to work through that. And Tom Brady, you got to give him the time to do that, right? So what in the meantime have you put yourself into a position to do? And it's not much. I don't think they're in any way, shape, or form in on Garoppolo, who's really the only quarterback worth trying to go acquire right now, right? I don't think Jordan Love would even be on the table, to tell you the truth. But if you're panicked that Tom Brady might not come back, you might have to go do something. I don't know what you can do. Maybe it's the quarterbacks in Seattle that can't seem to hit the broadside of a barn together, but maybe separately they could. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see, man. Ease up on my guy Geno Smith, man. Ease up on my guy Geno Smith. It's cool. I will say, coming in with Geno Smith, I reported a little bit earlier than Geno because I was coming from another league. But being a rookie and kind of seeing Geno Smith then, and then just kind of how he conducts and carries himself now, watching him, and they had mentioned like 10-year vet Geno Smith, and I'm like, dang, has it been that long?
Really?
It was 2013. When I was there with the New York Jets. And it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool seeing him there. But anyways, enough about Tom Brady, enough about Geno Smith. We'll see how that whole situation plays out. Let's talk about some of these prospects playing in Thursday night football game, Chicago Bears against the Seattle Seahawks. All right. Anything that was kind of notable from there, we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to let you know about our good folks over at Dave. And I want you to level with me here. All right, we've all been in a situation, a point in our life when, we are a little light on cash. And maybe you can't afford to put a few gallons of gas in your tank. Or you got another date and you're wondering how you're going to afford a gift or just a meal. And that's where Dave can come in and help you. All right, if you're living paycheck to paycheck or you're struggling to make ends meet, it can be really stressful. I get it. We've all been there. And when the unexpected expenses come up, now Dave can help you out of a pinch when you really need it. Hindsight is 20/20, and you can't afford to change the past. But if, and that's a big if you could help, get a little bit of help from your future self, maybe you'd ask to borrow a little cash. Dave can help you with that. Dave is a banking app that can help you get up to $500 of instant extra cash. That's more money to fill your tank. You can buy a wedding gift, or you can catch up on some bills. You can finally tackle those expenses that have been stressing you out without any hangups. And the best thing about this, there's no interest and no credit checks needed. All right, millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to get financial relief that they need with extra cash. So if you are in a pinch and you need some extra cash, download Dave and think of it as a helping hand from your future self. Download the Dave app right now in the App Store. All right, that's DAVE. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. All right, for terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve, member of the FDIC. Your future, you will thank you. All right, we want to thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, you got Locked On 49ers. We're covering everything with the 49ers. Myself and Brian Peacock, you got Locked On Chiefs. Ryan Tracy got it all covered over there with the Chiefs. And potentially another Super Bowl run. High expectations for the Chiefs. Can they live up to it? Find out by listening to Locked On Chiefs. All right. Let's talk about the Seahawks and Bears game and some things that at least I was looking for. And I kind of made a list of guys that I wanted to watch. And it was like Abraham Lucas and, really Kyler Gordon and all these other guys, right? Charles Cross. And before we started recording, I wasn't able to watch everybody there. But there are a couple guys that jumped out right away. First, Charles Cross. And I knew Abraham Lucas had played well before, and we talked about that earlier in the week. But I got a chance to really sit and watch Charles Cross. He's pretty good. He is pretty good. Now, the one thing you don't know is he going up against like the best pass rushers on the Chicago Bears. I mean, and forgive me for this, but I don't know who the Bears pass rushers are. So maybe those are the starters.
I don't think Quinn's out there tonight, is he?
Okay, no Quinn, but and Quinn, we know he had a huge season last year with sacks, but no Quinn playing. So guys that he can handle. But I will say this, and there are a lot of people like, it's just preseason. I think he did a good job, talking about Charles Cross, of doing what you would hope he would do, right? Like, the last thing you want to see is him look overwhelmed and getting overpowered, or guys hitting him with bull rushes or speed rushes in a preseason game where it's not the best edge rusher. So I think just him doing what he's supposed to do and looking like, hey, I'm a starter and this guy's a backup, that's a win in itself.
Okay, I'm down with that. I mean, the pair of them too, and again, just to bring back what our conversation was earlier in the week, folks, the pair of them functional together. I didn't get to see it at all because, I got family things on Thursday night, so I'm listening to it in the truck, and I keep hearing Abraham Lucas' name over and over and over. And maybe that's because the guys calling the game are focused on, maybe it's not. Damon Lewis did go down in this ballgame. That was part of it as well, but it does feel like, at least against the Bears, they have another game where they can get their duo going. On the defensive side, a couple of names the name that stood out to me again was one, say that one touchdown. And I thought, despite some struggles earlier in the preseason, I think that his physicality is what he comes back to, and I think that's what he's going to be able to rely on. I think in the end that's going to help him out. It sounded like he's playing well in his second ballgame tonight.
Yeah, a lot of guys playing well. There were a few guys that I saw really trying to get after it from the Chicago Bears and the Seattle Seahawks. I went in there wanting to really watch Boye Mafe, and he had a big-time performance in the previous preseason game. Watching him in this game, still getting after it again. Had a few pressures. Thought he did a good job of pressuring the quarterback. He did go out for a little bit, but eventually came back. One time he kind of got knocked back by the running back and kind of drugged for a few yards. I'm like, okay, you got to be able to anchor down a little bit more there. But overall, that so far I've seen a good outing. Can't wait to go back and watch the rest of how he did in that game. Velus Jones, he's an older prospect out of Tennessee, a receiver, and Chicago. They're looking for receivers, right? I mean, you know they went out and they got guys like N'Keal Harry, Dante Pettis, and all these guys that they're trying to figure out who's going to be the guy opposite of Mooney. But Velus Jones, maybe it's going to be him, a guy who could play in the slot, play on the outside. I saw December Webster. They used him in the slot. He was kind of the first slot guy. And I'm like, well, I was expecting Velus Jones to be that guy that I see in there first. But Velus Jones still made a mark with punt returns, had a really nice punt return in that game, running down the left sideline of the field. So some guys, rookies, still trying to, make their mark on getting involved however they can. I will say the one guy I was interested to really watch was probably Justin Fields. And I know he's not in this class, but, just a younger guy, seeing how it looked. And I'd say he looked a little bit more comfortable, but, again, the offensive line kind of let him down a little bit, had him running for his life a few times. They did a really good job of kind of moving him outside the tackle box. Ultimately, I believe he went 5 of 7 for 39 yards. So no big hitters, but I thought overall he looked a little comfortable. And are you looking to see anything from the preseason of Justin Fields that you don't already know about him?
Just to settle down and be able to move the ball. I don't know if the preseason is going to give us that. It's really going to be, okay, can you switch it over come week one and take whatever you have, whoever that other receiver is going to be. It could be Byron Pringle too. You never know. Take whatever run game you get. Take whatever you get out of that offensive line, and can you make it put up points? At the end of the day, 7 pass attempts in a preseason ball game isn't going to tell me enough of that. So I think it's a wait and see until we actually see him on the field in the regular season again.
All right, we're going to continue to talk about some prospects that we are excited to see. Got a lot of games upcoming, all right? And next up, man, a couple guys, the number 2 overall pick, the number 3 overall pick. We're going to get to those guys next. But first, I want to talk to you about the good friends over at BetterHelp. All right, life is full of twists and turns, and it's important to show up for yourself through it all. And BetterHelp Online Therapy will assess your needs, and they can match you with your own licensed professional therapist in less than 48 hours. We've all had experiences with mental illness and needing help, and I had to deal with it. Not me personally, but my wife. So I guess personally we dealt with it together and trying to figure out, how do we get through this thing? It definitely would have helped to have better help in our lives then. It's not a crisis line. It's not a self-help line. It's professional therapy done securely online, and it's available to people worldwide. You can log on to your account anytime and send messages to your therapist. You can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, and you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to. You can get therapy every week, and it's as easy as a few clicks on your laptop or on your phone. With therapy, it can take a few tries to find the right fit for you, all right? Who's going to be that therapist that can really help you, that you bond with? BetterHelp makes it easy, and it's free therapist if needed. It's more affordable than your traditional online therapy, and financial aid is available. So that's a great way for BetterHelp to help you, and it's a great way to invest in yourself. Visit their website and read the testimonials that they post daily. All right, so there's always people talking about the good things that BetterHelp has done for them. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting nationally therapists all over, all right, in all 50 states. And they have a special offer for our Locked On NFL Draft listeners right now. All right, get 10% off of your first month at BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. Again, that's 10% off of your first month of online therapy at BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. So, Ryan, a couple of prospects that I'm interested to see how they kind of come out. All right, one guy didn't even play last week. The other guy did. All right, so I am excited to see Derek Stingley Jr. But first, let's talk about the number 1 overall pick. And I think earlier I said the number 2 and the number 3 overall pick. Excuse me. The number 1 overall pick, Travon Walker to the Jacksonville Jaguars, playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had a sack in the opening preseason game. Nice hustle play from him getting to the quarterback. Based off of kind of what we knew of him in college. And he wasn't a guy that had this huge resume of just being this edge guy, getting after the quarterback. They used him in multiple ways. But what are you looking to see from him in his outing against the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Just a bit of steady growth. Like, what can he take his game up this week? The tackles in Pittsburgh, I think, are a good foe for him to try to get a little bit more of a rhythm in his pass rush, a little bit more timing coming off the edge. The counter plan, I think you saw bits of it last week, but I want to see him put a few more things together. And in the end, I think we should hopefully see the whole game kind of slow down for him, because I don't think it was 100 miles an hour. I think it was a first game out. So let's see what he puts together back. Does he make a leap this week? I think we might see that.
I want to see what he's going to hang his hat on, all right? Because, you see a guy that has the physical capabilities of him and tested through the roof and did all that great stuff. And, when you watch a lot of these guys coming to the NFL, it's like, how are they going to win, right? I get to watch Nick Bosa, and I think he's kind of somehow underrated. Like, Nick Bosa is amazing. Should have seen him in these joint practices against the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, he had literally, they counted up 10 times he tagged off on the quarterback in 2 days. So he's really getting after the quarterback. But when you watch Nick Bosa play and rush off the edge, like, he's going to hang his hat on being a technician. All right, he comes off, he has nice speed to power. He's not the burstiest of guys in a straight line. In that sense, he's not going to chase quarterbacks down from the backside, but he gets to the quarterback really quick with speed, power, and he has great hand usage. I think for Travon Walker, that's what I'm looking for. Like, what's he going to hang his hat on in this game? Is he going to be that speed guy off the edge? Is he going to be a guy where they're like, he's kind of a tweener because he's not quite a pure edge rusher, but he's kind of an interior guy, but then we kind of want to use him this way? Like, what are they going to hang their hat on? I think that's what I'm most looking forward to seeing from him. But in another game, we got Derek Stingley Jr. He is having his first outing, the number 3 overall pick to the Houston Texans, a guy who's, I guess you hear conflicting stories. Everybody's saying how great he is with Houston and he's doing awesome. Then I got another guy DMing me and he's like, I think he's doing fine, but he's not trusting himself fully. He's not trusting his technique fully. He has dealt with some foot injuries. I'd assume that he's 100% healed from that. But what are the things that you're looking forward to seeing out of Derek Stingley Jr.?
Just that smooth confidence that he's always had, and how does that rust come off? I know John talked about last week about that it is starting to flake. Okay, that's fine. Let's take a scrub pad out and knock it all the way off. Like, do you get in a rhythm? Can he get that kind of – I think when especially a receiver that he feels can challenge him a little bit, I think that's going to push him some. How does he react to that? Is he ready to step up and really like get in somebody's hip pocket and ride it? And I think that's the big thing, is when he gets to his comfort level and how he can play his favorite part of the game, I think that's when he'll start to open up and unlock. I'm looking forward to that too. There's a lot of guys, and I don't have like two to go over, but I do want to give you a couple of names that I'm watching. One is Travis Jones in Baltimore. I thought he started out hot as an interior defender, and I'd like to see him take that up again. Can he sustain that? That might be the thing that leads to him being on the field like more than even I thought. And can he affect that ball game? That's certainly in there. Myjai Sanders, same way. I think he surprised people, played really well for the Cardinals first game out. Can he put it back-to-back together? I need to see a little bit more dominance. But I think for a guy that came in underweight and people felt like he was going to have a hard time coming off the edge in the NFL, like I still feel he's got that upside and he needs to show that. And remember, this is a team that used Son Reddick in an interesting way as well. I think they can adapt to what he has to offer. So I'm interested in that. And then for me, I'm going to shout out my guys. I think Jared Stern showed something to whoever the quarterback was throwing the ball in Tampa Bay. Can he do it again? Can he push himself onto this roster? He might be there by an edge. I want to see it.
Yeah, Myjai Sanders, that's a good name right there. Now, I remember watching him at the Senior Bowl. My buddy Ayo, shout out to my guy Ayo, he was like, hey, that guy right there, he has the frame to be able to fill out more and still be able to keep his athleticism. So we'll see. He obviously dealt with an illness at the combine. Yep. He was like 228 pounds as an edge rusher. That is not what you want to see, but got his weight back up for his pro day, and he's continuing to battle back and be a legit pass rusher in this league. He's a good investment. Can't wait to watch him and see how all these other guys are doing around the league. That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On NFL Draft. I want to thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And now, make Locked On Fantasy Football your second listen of the day. Find an intellectual fantasy expert, Vinny, who brings over 20 years of NFL expertise and a unique angle to give you the moves no one else has. All right, get ready for your fantasy draft with Locked On Fantasy Football. But that's going to do it from us. Watch the games this weekend, and we'll see y'all Monday. Peace.